Brookfield Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, January 20th. Ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. First item on the agenda, approved payroll warrant. I'll entertain a motion to approve January 20th, 2015, ratify the expense warrant for January 19th, 2015, and ratify the wire warrant for January 19th, 2015.
So moved, sir, on all three.
And I will second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Announcements. Tyler Wolinen, excuse me for the pronunciation, District Aide to Senator Ann Goby, will be holding office hours at Brookfield Town Hall on Wednesday, January 28th from 10 to 11 a.m. All are welcome. Permits for outdoor burning of brush and forestry debris are now available. Permits will be issued until April 30th. The burning of leaves, tires, trash, stumps, or building materials is prohibited and may result in the suspension of burning for the rest of the seasons or fines. Burning is only allowed between the hours of 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. To obtain a permit, log on to www.c8, the number 8, burnpermits.com. Only call the dispatch office at 508-867-1066 between 7:30 a.m. and noon if you do not have internet access. Do not call 911, the fire station, or the regular dispatch number. Any other announcements by the board?
Negative.
Hearing none, public access. Anybody wish to address the board this evening? Moving right along. Item number 1, setting meeting dates. We're only up until
Today.
Whoa.
And we can't stop there, can we? So do we want 3 months?
Okay.
Any recommendations?
Okay.
We can do this the 3rd of February,
Yeah, February 3rd.
17th.
Vacation week is that week. I don't know if you guys are going anywhere.
Of what, the 17th?
It starts on the 16th, February vacation for the schools.
No, I'll be home.
I think I'm going to be home, but we are going away for that. And I forget which week it is. It might be the last week in February.
So the 3rd and 17th work?
Yeah.
So February 3rd, 17th. Right, March?
Same thing, the 3rd?
3rd, 17th, and 31st?
Yep.
Then April 14th and 28th?
Sounds good.
Anyway, so I'll entertain a motion to approve those dates.
Make a motion to approve those dates.
And
sir.
I will second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item number 2, Memorial Committee. For those that are in the room that are interested in the Memorial Committee, before we discuss it, there is a draft charge on the table if you'd like to read through it while we do as well. I don't know if Mr. Thoma or Ms. Lincoln had a chance to review it.
I read through it today.
Okay, we'll discuss that later. But before we get started, not a big group. I was hoping the Telegram and Gazette or other news reporters would be here. After the last meeting that we had here 2 weeks ago, the newspaper article in the Telegram and Gazette, I was very disturbed at the actual article itself. I really felt that it reported a different meeting altogether than we were actually at. I need to set the record straight to everybody in this room and everybody listening. As the son of a retired captain in the U.S. Army, lifelong individual, who actually served during the Vietnam War, was stationed, thank God to myself, in Germany during the Vietnam conflict, with an uncle, his brother, that served in the Marines and was wounded in battle and highly decorated, serving in Vietnam, who later went on to serve the state of New Hampshire as an officer, with their father was killed in action in Korea as a Marine. And my maternal grandfather served in World War II as well, and officers throughout the family. I was very disturbed to hear that I was
Veterans, I think.
veterans and police. Highly disturbed at it. And I just need to set the record straight that I have the utmost respect for anybody that not only serves this country, but this Commonwealth and this town. So I just want to set that record straight first and foremost. I thought we had a very productive meeting at the last meeting in regards to this, so much that we're setting this charge for a committee to honor individuals. So for everybody listening, the proposed charge, and I'd like a discussion, I'd welcome input from the crowd as well. The Town of Brookfield Charge of Memorial Committee. The Board of Selectmen of the Town of Brookfield hereby forms a 7-member ad hoc committee known as the Memorial Committee. Said committee is established to bring recommendations back to the Board of Selectmen in regards to recognizing Brookfield's veterans and outstanding citizens, and is charged with the following responsibilities and duties. Number 1, the election of officers, including at least the chairman and secretary. Number 2, the recording of minutes and votes of all meetings. Minutes are to be signed by the secretary of the committee upon approval, and copies of the minutes submitted to the Board of Selectmen. Number 3, the committee shall comply with the open meeting law and the uniform procurement law. Number 4, the committee shall be governed by the conflict of interest laws. Number 5, the committee shall advise the Board of Selectmen regarding policy issues and decisions that require the board's actions, such as materials to be used, scope of the project, work, timetable, etc. Number 6, the committee shall provide a monthly progress report to the Board of Selectmen. Number 7, the committee shall work in tangent with all existing and future committees, i.e. Bannister Common and Mall Committee and Master Plan Committee. Number 8, and final, this charge may be amended by the Board of Selectmen at any time. Any discussion in regards to this charge? Anybody? So I'll entertain a motion to approve said charge.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
No, I have to agree with what the chairman said. It was definitely one-sided. It did appear to be one-sided regarding that article, and not an accurate assessment of what actually transpired that. But it is what it is.
All right, so to put together this committee, we actually have 8 people that were interested. Miss Lincoln was one of them, but her husband had submitted his name, and she had just mentioned that she is okay with not serving on it and letting her husband take that 7th spot. So we have Mr. and Mrs. Pratt, Mr. Clark, Miss Lincoln, well, Mr. and Mrs. Lincoln, Mr. Eaton, Miss Pecor, and Miss Terry. So, Mr. Thomo, do you want to exclude Miss Lincoln at her recommendation? or-
Absolutely.
Do you want me to be like an ex officio on the board? No? Or,
No, I think
okay,
that's...
that's fine. No, I don't mind. I mean, you can put my husband on instead of myself. I don't have any problem with that.
And he's okay with that?
Yeah.
Well, did he know that there were 7 already?
No, he didn't know. But I don't think he'll have a problem with it.
So I'll entertain a motion to appoint all 7 members mentioned, as opposed, with the obvious exception of Miss Lincoln. So Mr. and Mrs. Pratt, Mr. Lincoln, Mr. Clark, Mr. Eaton, Miss Pecor, Miss Terry. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And with 2 members in the crowd, do you have any questions from us? And it'll be up to the committee to set their meetings and establish that committee. Thank you very much.
And then we'll have to get appointment slips, and you'll have to get sworn in by Mr. Siri.
Linda, do I still have to get sworn in because I work on the...
Yes, for every committee that you're on, you have to get sworn in separately.
All right, item number 3, sign special use permits. I don't think I've ever seen so many fishing derbies in the
No,
town
I
of
know.
Brookfield in my
I
life.
noticed that today,
They just
too.
keep coming
I think
in.
the word is out on him, that's why.
They're good fish in Brookfield, yeah? Lots of them. So I'll entertain a motion to allow the relay for Life of Southbridge on 5/23.
That's a new one.
Next level bass fishing, May 30th. And Norfolk County Bass Anglers on June 14th.
What was the first date on the first one?
May 23rd,
Okay. And there'll be a
May-
porta potty set up by then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
May 30th, and June 14th.
Good.
Quabog Pond, Quabog Pond, and Quabog Pond. Do I have a motion?
So moved, sir.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I think it just requires one signature. Did you have a chance to look into the porta potty situation more, or?
Absolutely. Karen and I spoke with
Do you want to, oh, there's no microphone there anymore, sorry.
Don Taft. Yes, I spoke with Dick Diatlevy, with Karen on the phone about the porta potties, and he agreed that he would talk with his superior and see if they could work out a deal where the same vendor would leave it in place, and we would pick up the difference, understanding that we're gonna have to pass some kind of financial support for that in town.
Would that generally be the rec committee, or
I'm
would
sorry?
that generally be the rec committee?
Could be whoever you would like. He said it was $175 a month for 2 pump outs per week.
One's handicapped?
He didn't, well, there were just the 2 porta potties, but the 2
They
pump
pump
outs.
out each week?
Yeah. And we would obviously need that during the winter time. So he was gonna check with his superiors, see if they could work it out. He was very pleased with the fact that we were coming to them to ask them to this, and that we would actually support financially, you know, the months that were not covered by the state.
Should we think about passing and deferring that cost to these organizations?
For a long time, I've thought that there should be some kind of a permit fee for this kind of thing. But
If
it's,
they're having an event, I think there should be some cost for that
Well, at
responsibility.
least to recoup
Yeah.
our expense.
They should.
we have a Clean Lakes Fund, which could certainly benefit from, you know, even if it was $1 a head or $2 a car. I mean, some of these tournaments have 20 cars, you could get $50. I mean, like you say, there are a tremendous number of fishing tournaments on this location, of both North and South Pond. I think it would be appropriate. I don't know how you coordinate that with the state. It's a state boat ramp. I don't know how you do that.
Well, as long as there's a porta potty there, I'm all right with it.
No, I think but I believe the organization that's running the derbies, I think they should pick up the other half.
If they have a derby that involves more than 25 cars, they have to have an EPO officer on site, which is, I think, $350. So, and they have to pay for that.
Yeah.
So, to answer your question, yes, we've talked with the state, and they are, and they did agree to extend their leaving the porta potty on, I forget what the dates are, 1st of June.
I think they did first of, I don't know, they extended it
Yeah.
from what they usually have it. I
So,
want to say 1st of May, I think that's.
could be the
I thought
first.
that's what you told me, Karen, it was
Yeah.
May.
So, yes, they will get back to Karen with whatever the recommendation would be.
Chris is working on that.
But we just have to be aware if
She's coming
there's any
tomorrow, she
fishing
doesn't
derbies
know
when the
when
porta
the
potty's not there, that we
practice.
gotta make sure they supply that, that's the only thing.
Yeah.
I'm worried about cost as well,
Yeah,
because it does get costly after a while.
Yep.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Item number 4, wage authorizations. We have 2. There's a request from the planning board for a new clerk at the rate of $12.75.
Well, I looked at that today, and I don't know what, yeah, see, he's got all the rate and pay schedule here, and he said, he's got it all in here, and said how that falls into a 6. And he wants $12.75 for a new person, where we only pay our administrative assistants, not the municipal clerks that help out the different people here in the offices, we only pay them $12 an hour. And this gentleman is just starting out, and they want to pay him $12.75.
Mr. Thomo?
I think we ought to send it back for a better explanation.
Well, I called him to get an
Oh, yeah.
explanation. He, the way that they advertised was experience. This gentleman has significant experience. He's actually, I don't know if you read this letter,
Yeah,
going to school in regards to things like that.
If they're okay with it.
I'm on the fence, well, it's not, we had another committee that was okay with another amount as well. I don't think another 75 cents is that extravagant.
But one problem I have with it, the clerk that we hired for the treasurer, she had experience because she had worked for the previous treasurer, and she's only being paid $12 an hour. We didn't give her any more money.
So do we want to make a motion to approve $12 an hour?
Sure. I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
It's Krista who's making $12 an hour.
And Holly is too. Oh, Holly isn't.
No, she's making more than that.
Oh, she is. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't realize that.
Because Krista was new, so she started at 12. Holly was already working here, working for the town.
Oh, okay, I thought that Holly was only started out at 12.
For years.
Well, if she's making more than that, then,
Then it's, you're okay with that, Linda?
yeah, I'm okay with that. If Holly is making more than that, I'm
You want to
comfortable.
retract the
Yeah, I'll
motion?
retract
Yeah,
that.
okay.
You want to approve the $12.75?
Yeah.
It falls within the step and
Yeah, it
grade.
does, it falls, I looked
If
at
it
it.
falls within it,
It falls
leave it alone.
within the step and grade.
Are we okay with $12.75?
Yeah,
Entertain a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And I checked on those, and
One
they
at-
are,
One at a time.
okay.
All right, second one is the one that Ms. Lincoln was charged with looking into. My question on this is there's a difference between ALS and EMS. This right here is for EMS, so everybody gets it. In my opinion, an ALS trained individual should be making more, but this brings everybody into the same pay. Did you check into that?
Yes, I did, they're all getting the same.
Well, some towns don't have the ALS piece.
Yeah, some
That's-
don't,
that's
like
why
I
we-
know.
That's why
I
we
know
signed
North
the
Brookfield
contract.
doesn't, I don't think East Brookfield does.
That's why we signed
Yeah.
the contract.
But the $50 does fall into those.
Into what towns?
I get, East Brookfield does, and North, and West, I'm trying to think. I wasn't able to get in touch with anybody in West. But I know that the other towns, they all fall within that $50 range.
They all $50 a shift?
I'm seeing $25.
No, they have gone,
First call 25, each additional 30.
well, I was told different.
First call 30.
Oh, that's West Brookfield, I didn't get in touch with them.
I thought you said West Brookfield.
No, I didn't get in
was
touch with West. I
50.
got
So
in
these
touch
are
with-
yours?
I got in touch with North, and then I was able to, I guess, North, and East Brookfield said it is 50.
All right, so you opposed to this, Mr. Thomo?
Negative.
No, and then I have it here, I don't have an hour and salary, I have an on-call shift of $50.
All right, entertain a motion?
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Item number 5, resignations. I will entertain a motion to accept Ms. Corvo's resignation as the administrative clerk.
So moved, sir.
I'll second that.
Discussion, she's just basically got too much going on. Basically, what's good as well is that she wasn't really putting that many hours in here.
I mean, we didn't really need her.
We really didn't need her. So the discussion I had with Karen this afternoon was basically not to repost this job. That
Yeah,
we're
I don't think
going
we
with
need
it. All right, all in favor of accepting with regret? And sending
Absolutely.
an appreciation letter?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item number 6, other. All right, we received our correspondence from the Highway Department requesting permission from the Selectmen Advisory Board to definitely suspend the snow and ice account. The next deliveries of salt will exceed the remaining balance in the account. I have issue with this. I don't know if you guys received this email,
Yes.
I did too.
especially in January. Granted, we have had some ice situations, but the budget should have,
I thought we'd be covered for a little bit longer than now.
I also thought the same thing when I read it.
I mean, it's been a
Yeah.
nice winter so far regarding snow.
well, you always have the argument of the ice, and they have been outstanding and whatnot, but I didn't think there was that many situations where it would deplete this account that drastically
So we need to find out what's going on.
before we take action.
You think we can get something from Ms. Thompson regarding,
I think you would have to go see Betty for the general ledger report. One of you want to have that conversation with her?
talk to Betty? If, you think she's the one for the conversation though, huh? Because I'm talking about deliveries, how many pounds they picked up, how
Well,
many pounds they
that's
picked
where the general ledger comes into effect.
up, cost, then they got it.
Everything that we sign off is the general ledger.
I'll catch up with her then.
All right, so can you put that back on for the next agenda? All right, Mr. Simpson had submitted today, we had this discussion last week, the RFP was almost 200 pages for the police station. There's a 4-page document of the actual contract that precedes that RFP that needs an attorney's signature. I don't know if you've looked at this. So I'm going to entertain a motion to allow town council to review said contract.
Absolutely, so moved.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's so important, it was in there twice. We've had a roundabout discussion, we didn't bring it up at the last meeting, wanted to bring it up today, in regards to employees that work as subcontractors for the town. I guess past practice, unbeknownst to myself, was that they were paid under payroll, where in my opinion they should be paid with a 1099. The discussion that I had with Betty, she made the statement that the auditors had picked up on it and stated that everything should be paid through one account payroll, so there's no red flags with the IRS. I felt,
Doesn't make sense to me.
I felt differently as well. To me, a red flag would be 2 individuals with a W-2 coming in, especially when we're on the hook for Medicare, so we're paying those additional 2%.
I think we should stop that practice.
Well, she was very adamant. I contacted Mr. Scanlon at her request today. He agrees with me 100%.
So where did how did she get that?
She thought that, after I called her back, she thought it might have been the old auditor that was no longer with
So it's resolved then, I hope.
Not really.
Not yet,
She
okay.
needs supervision from this board.
I think it should be paid also on a expense form. It shouldn't be on a.
Well, it'd be a 1099.
Yeah, they should get a 10.
What kind of supervision does she need besides a directive?
A directive.
Oh, absolutely.
That, in my opinion, it might have to be incorporated into that finance manual that I'm working on now. I didn't think that it would have to be. Subcontractors should be subcontractors, and employees should be employees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking with Tom, he stated that a social security number will work on a 1099 miscellaneous, but he advises that a federal ID EIN number be provided before we do that. So do we want to have only pays 1099s going out to all corporations or individuals, sole proprietors with a EIN number?
No, that'd be fine.
Should we accept social securities as
I
well?
think an EIN, if he's recommending an EIN, we should do that.
But if we do, I agree. We should have it.
All right, so should I incorporate that into the finance policy?
And a directive should be sent to Ms. Benoit
Yeah.
also, so this doesn't happen anymore.
Then she goes into the issue of her producing 1099s versus Sandy producing them. She says that she's doing them. I agree with her that that's a Sandy job.
That's okay.
Should be a
That's
treasure.
not a big
I
deal.
used to help, when I did the treasurer's job for a while, I used to treasurer's office used to always provide those.
All right, so do I need a motion that will?
I think you should get one, and I'll give you one.
I'll entertain a motion that all employees working as subcontractors should be paid with a 1099, and that 1099 will be processed by the treasurer's
So,
office.
yes,
I'll second that.
Or do we want to add with the EIN numbers?
I would put an EIN numbers in there too.
So we'll be paid with a 1099 with a federal tax ID EIN number and processed by the treasurer. Do we have that motion?
Yep.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I don't know if this goes up, can we do a little more discussion on those two things that have to be paid? On the two?
Let's just take this
Oh,
vote
we'll
first.
take that
and
one,
then
okay.
we'll go into it.
All right.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
So can we forward that motion to Sandy and Betty? Thank you. In your discussion, ma'am?
I know the two different people have to be paid, they've done the work, and I think that they should be put on a voucher and get paid.
Oh, 100%, but the issue is moving forward.
Yeah, that's moving forward, but I think now, moving forward though, I think a check should be given to the two of them.
Well, with that motion, they'll have to provide 1099s.
Okay.
And I know at least one individual doesn't have a tax ID number according to Betty.
Well, you can't, if they've worked, you have to pay them.
Well, one of the issues, and if you want to bring this up, is one of these that I flagged, that I saw personally, was an itemized receipt for material. The prices were inflated, so I'm assuming that tax was included into that, which we don't pay taxes.
Right.
The management of that department is in question, in my opinion. For the simple fact that those projects are being done by Tantascwa. Tantascwa should have acquired that material. And even if it was acquired by this other individual, it should be a better itemized receipt as opposed to their physical receipt.
And another
And
question.
it wasn't labor, it was just
Yeah.
strictly material.
Okay, so, all right, so now, this work so the work has been done already, or has it been done?
I spoke with Mr. Mansfield, said some of it has been and some of it hasn't.
Yeah. Now, did Tantascwa do this?
Yes.
Yes, okay, all right, so.
The bill was not for labor, it was
It was
solely
just for the materials. But before things are done like that, shouldn't he, the department come forward to us and tell us what they want to have done?
Knee-jerk reaction to that? He's a department head, if it falls within his budget, I don't need him running or her running to us every single thing. But my disapproval is the fact that we have now a working history with Tantascwa, and we didn't use them. And especially with an inflated expense for material.
Well, that's my issue, and how long has that been going on?
Exactly.
So I'd rather just resolve this and get it over with, and
I personally would like to see the receipt for the materials, as opposed to an itemized list of just what was printed.
that would have been good too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like we have to turn in if we want to
Yeah.
get paid. I know when I made copies for a town meeting once, I had to supply the Staples receipt. I couldn't just put a custom changes or a Green Lake Driving School invoice together and bill the town. So through this payment, do you want to oversee it, make sure a justified receipt comes to the town?
Yeah, I'll make sure. So we'll have to contact,
The one individual. The second invoices were justified receipts. They were itemized, they were laid out,
They were okay.
and that individual signed a conflict of interest sheet is back in like
Yeah.
'07 or something.
Yeah.
so.
All right.
okay, so
But
that one's fine.
they can't be paid on the payroll.
No, that's the
whole
big
issue.
issue. Right. That's what we voted for.
So on this one, we want to see the itemized?
Receipt, as opposed to the individual's itemized receipt. I picked the first number, and I have it in my phone. I'm assuming it was a Home Depot purchase, because they're
Yeah.
gonna be the most expensive, as opposed to a supply. I can physically, I'm a contractor, I can go to the same supply house that Tantascwa would have gone. I would have had to pay tax on it, though, Tantascwa wouldn't. They're obviously lower than Home
Yeah.
Depot's. Home Depot's price was lower than the price that was submitted.
Okay,
So there's something going on.
so we want to see the itemized receipt where they were purchased.
Any further conversation on that?
Can I ask a question on that one?
Certainly. If you want to come on up.
I'm assuming that the second one you're talking about is the invoices from A1 Parks?
Correct.
That is a corporation, and we've been doing business with the town for at least 10 years now, and we've never been paid out of payroll.
It was, the warrant was all payroll for that. It was flagged because it was handwritten pay under payroll, so that's why it was pulled.
Oh. So that shouldn't be coming out of payroll as far as I know.
And that's why we
But
pulled it.
that's up to you guys to do, not for me to do.
Well, you're agreeing.
I just give you the invoice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're agreeing with us, so.
Well, I just want to be
Get
clear
paid.
on it too, it's a corporation, it's not an individual, it's not a 1099, it's a completely separate.
Yeah, well, that's what we had an issue
Yeah, that's
with.
what we have the issue with.
Because the other individual's charging us for material where it's not even work. So that's a whole different level as well that we have to deal with.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no problem with it. It just has to come, it just has to go on like an expense warrant, not a payroll.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's going to get paid, that's all.
Oh, yeah.
All right? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Under other as well, the police chief had requested to be heard this evening, so is he still in the room or did he leave?
Yes.
He is. There he is. Nice shiny. Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've had a couple conversations with two members of the board. Just trying to get clarification on the bylaws for the vehicles and exactly what a tarpaulin is.
Tarp is a tarpaulin is a tarp.
Okay, I understand that, but when you put it up, because obviously there's a resident in town that we're trying to address whether or not they're unregistered cars that are properly covered up. The fence is made out of a tarp. Does that car constitute a tarpaulin or not?
I would turn to our ZBA chair.
That doesn't constitute a fence.
No, I didn't say it would.
And plus, I think the number 2 on that.
I mean, let me just read part number 3 so we can all kind of understand, be on the same page. A motor vehicle within an enclosed building or shielded from view, provided, however, that a car cover or tarpaulin shall not qualify as shielding.
Right.
Now, in fairness to this individual, when he first made the changes, he asked me if it was okay, and I did say yes, I thought it was okay in my opinion. Since then, other people have told me that it's not okay, and that would constitute a tarpaulin.
So I haven't seen it. It is it, can we call it a tarp?
I'm just going by the verbiage.
Okay.
We can call it whatever we want to call it.
Is this tarp made into a fence?
Yes.
I wouldn't call
It's
that a-
approximately 8 feet tall,
Yeah.
An 8-foot tarpaulin.
a tarpaulin, and it goes,
Is it a blue tarpaulin?
no, it's a black.
Black.
Okay.
And this is what is being used for
And,
a
and
fence?
yes, he's covering, this individual, I think we're talking about the same one, is surrounding it around like 3 or 4 large trucks that have been disabled, I guess, that haven't been used for a while, and they're,
So devil's advocate, to me, that's a fence. Why wouldn't the ZBA deem that as a fence?
because, what does it say?
Nobody's deemed anything as a fence. This bylaw doesn't say anything about a fence. All it says is shielded from view.
But on the second portion, it says,
But then it says tarpaulin shall not be, and I hate to split hairs, but
But this is why we revised the bylaw a couple years ago.
a year ago.
Was it only a year
2
ago?
years, no, I think it was.
Was it 2 years ago? I'm sorry, it could have been 2 years.
But my interpretation of the issue with the tarp was to physically cover the car with the tarp as opposed to erecting a fence to block. So I think the semantics is the material of the fence.
The intent is to not use a tarpaulin or a car cover to shield from view. That's why
Correct,
that's,
which would, in that
Yeah.
interpretation, would mean on top of the vehicle.
well, any use. On top of it, around it, doesn't matter.
I don't read it the same way.
This has been going around.
I know, and that's, I was hoping we could work it out
So what-
and not have to come to the, hope, if we can't decide it here, maybe we could all sit down at a table together and kind of hammer something out. Because obviously there's an underlying issue here, and not just maybe the registered vehicles. So if maybe we address the whole thing.
What's the underlying?
Well, just maybe the condition of the property. I don't know. You know?
I know what the intent of that bylaw was when they incorporated it, because the bylaw committee created it.
Was it the intent
Absolutely.
To physically-
Absolutely.
to physically
Not
cover
to
the
use-
car, to
not
cover the
but
car.
not to use tops or car covers.
So what's the difference with a PVC fence versus a tarp fence? Just because a PVC fence is prettier, or?
Well, it is prettier and it won't fall down.
So is this tarp falling down?
Well, actually, I did drive by this morning, and there is an area that is sagging right now, and I can see the cabs on.
So just right there, violates.
Well, I think the intent of the bylaw was not to use top mounts or car covers. And
So
that's what-
we have one or two choices: completely address this again in another town meeting,
I think we should all be able to come together and get something done here.
or have the chair of the ZBA, yourself, who enforces this, and the individuals sit in the room together and hammer it out.
I mean, maybe if everyone could kind of come together and work together, we could maybe resolve it instead of
How long have you been working with this individual?
a long time.
How long?
At least 2 years, at
2 years.
since the beginning of when we made the first change, because I had an issue with the way it was written in the first.
Yeah.
I
So
can't even remember what
are
the
you
issue was, but.
opposed- The recommendation is to sit down. Are you
I
opposed?
don't, the people in that area want it enforced. That's all they care about.
I'm not even aware of what this problem is, so.
They want it enforced. They know what the bylaw says, they know who's in charge of it, and they just want it enforced. It's very explicit how it's written.
See, I disagree. I see tarp as a cover, not a fence.
Well, it says the use of,
Which there's an argument.
you know, I know what the intent of the bylaw committee was when they created that.
So, in my opinion, we're gonna have to change the bylaw to be more specific.
Well, I don't
It
know.
would have to be the use of a tarp.
Bylaw, to be more specific,
It would have to be in any capacity, as opposed to covering.
it says.
It says covering, from what he read, no?
Let me see that.
I mean, that's kind of why I'm kind of hoping we could all sit down and work together rather than having to do all these bylaw changes. We obviously know, I mean, call it a spade, and they don't want it there
Shall
because it's
not
an eyesore.
qualify as
So
shielding.
if we could maybe
That's-
fix
It's
that.
very explicit.
As shielding?
As
You
shielding.
know, no, not you.
It does not qualify as shielding.
So, the highlighted area. Item number 3, motor vehicles within an enclosed building or shielded from view, provided however, that a car cover or tarpaulin shall not qualify as shielding.
That's not vague to me at all.
No, not at all.
Nothing.
It doesn't, it.
Well, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, when the individual made the correction, I first told him it was okay. Because quite frankly, I didn't know what a tarpaulin was.
You, listening to it, with you saying it, I heard cover. When I get shielded.
That's the way I would,
See, if this goes to court, words mean something, and that's what's gonna be.
exactly why I'm here.
That, and you know what? Let it go to court, then let them settle it, because it's not a big deal.
It isn't going to
No,
court,
it's not.
spending money on cars. I was, I think, the sole voice when this first came up, opposing this bylaw altogether.
Well,
And, you know, Mr. Allen and I were the only ones that exchanged words on it.
the bottom line is the bylaw committee created this.
Yeah, and
They
we
want
have
it
to follow
enforced.
it, and I get it.
It's written very exactly, very explicitly. The intent is there,
The intent is shielding.
so I don't know why.
It doesn't say cover. All right, so I agree with Mr. Slomo, so what's the next step now? In our opinion, Linda, do you want to chime in, does it violate?
It does violate, but I'm thinking maybe the three of you should try to sit down and hash this out.
It's not my horse race. I don't have a horse in this race.
Your recommendation, chief?
I mean, it's the bylaw, I'll enforce it as we see it needs to be enforced. That's what, you know, if it's a violation, then we'll enforce the violation if it's a violation.
And have you had discussions with this individual?
Yes, he referred me to you guys.
Besides the conversation that you deemed it was acceptable?
Yes. Yes, and I was referred to you guys.
Well, I think this board unanimously interprets that bylaw as that violating.
Then I'll take it from here.
All right. Thank you, sir. Any other? Hearing none, correspondence. Received January 6th, the school, in regards to the insurance committee, has appointed Ms. Parker as their representative, with footnotes basically stating that any conversation or decisions within that committee does not constitute a bargaining agreement within their contract. I think we perceived that,
Yeah.
assumed that it was last time, and we had issues, we had to discuss that. So whatever is decided upon, it has to go back, if there's a change, it has to go back before their union, before it can be implemented by the town of Brookfield. All right, yep. Any other business before the board this evening? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn,
I'll
sir.
second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Yes.